Okay. Before we get any more, say, vulgar, we're going to move to half open or half closed resolutions or topics or motions, as you may hear them called. These motions provide you with a general idea of what you are supposed to talk about, but leave you a certain freedom on how you're going to interpret it. For example, if we say, this house believes that we should fear China, the Prime Minister or the first speaker in the debate can come up and say, we believe that we should fear China because it plans to take over the world, because it has a gigantic army of so many people with so many modern weapons. Or he can come up and say, we should fear China because Chinese people are like, creepy. They creep me out. Yeah. Or he can just say, okay, well, we should fear Chinese horror movies, not just China. Or we should fear the geometric shape China has on the map. Yeah. That is what makes it a half-closed resolution. And then we have completely closed ones that say specifically what is to be discussed, and an off-topic discussion will get you a lower score. Examples of closed topics include, but are not limited to, this house believes that we should invade Iran. This house believes that we should throw exactly 2 nukes on Tanzania. Yeah. Any more down-to-earth examples? Come on, guys.
Anything America has done in the past 40 years.
Absolutely. Such as?
Vietnam, Iraq.
Yeah, it can be. This house would turn the clock back and not go to Vietnam. Yeah. That is what's good about debate. It gives you countless possibilities to do whatever you want if you are the organizer of a tournament. Because you can come up with any motion, and people who come to your tournament have no choice whatsoever but to debate it. Yeah, so it can be said that debaters are a bit involved in sadomasochistic practices, but let's leave that for another time. These resolutions can also be divided into some other groups. For example, a debate can be based on values, and these topics typically start with "this house believes that." In these debates, the proposition side takes the position of a certain value, and the opposition side takes either the position of a counter value or another value of the same kind that is that they can consider better than the proposing side's value. And an example of this kind of debate would be, this house believes that assisted suicide is good. And then the proposing side comes and says, yeah, we believe that it is moral for people to be allowed to die when they want, if they don't want to suffer terminal illness any longer. And then the opposing side comes and says, no, we believe that the human life, as long as there is hope that it can be saved by any means possible, including a miracle, is the ultimate value that cannot be overridden by any other means. And this is where we have confronted values. So the proposing side says, the value that we are pushing forward is freedom of choice, and the other side says, our value is the value of human life. Any other examples? Abortion. Yeah, and this is what leads me to another category of debates. Yeah, we've talked about euthanasia, about abortion and stuff, but in the context of value-related debates. But we can also have a policy debate on these very points. For example, we can say this house would forbid abortion, or this house would say legalize euthanasia. What you need to recognize here is that I've changed the intro to the motion from this house believes that something to this house would do something. In this kind of debates, the proposing side is expected to give a detailed plan of action that would be implemented in order to achieve the state that the motion is proposing, and to develop arguments that regard not only the principle but also the practicalities, the feasibility of this plan, the consequences or probable harms that the plan may have, and why the benefits are stronger. And this is why in policy debates we most often have something that you'll hear very often if you take up debating: cost-benefit analysis. Because we are a civilized society, because we are utilitarians, because we believe that a good action is the action that has more benefits than harms. Do you believe in that? Okay, so lastly, we have certain debates that are characterized as analytical. They are also called the truth debates. This is where the motion isn't exactly given as something that is initially perceived as debatable. This is where the motion is given as a specific claim. For example, this house believes that God exists, or just God exists. Or this house believes that Uranus is actually farther than Neptune. Yeah, you can have a debate on that count too. And these debates most often come down to my evidence is bigger than yours. Yeah, and these are the most boring debates that there are, but they need to be mentioned as stuff that just occurs on bad tournaments, or when the organizer just decides to have fun against us. Okay, so what debate is mostly constituted of are arguments. So I'd like to hear your views on the thing now. What are arguments? How would you define an argument? Okay, well, debater's definition would be: an argument is a proven claim that is being connected to the motion, to a cause. And this is most visible in the structural diagram of an argument, which I will draw for you guys right now. Okay, so an argument. Oh, very nice. Okay. What we need to have first is a claim. A claim, or a statement, is what you initially say when confronted with emotion. For example, if the motion says, this house believes that performance-enhancing drugs should be legalized in sports, the first thing that comes to mind is sports people have the right to choose what they ingest into their organisms. And that, ladies and gentlemen, as debaters often tend to say, is a claim. Because you haven't said so far, why is it good? Provided the examples of freedom of choice being good, you just said, yeah, those people have the right to choose. And that's where your arguments have to begin at all times. And then comes reasoning, often also known as warrants. This is where you explain stuff. And that is the biggest part of the argument. Then you come along and say, okay, well, yeah, these guys have the right to choose. Why is it that they have the right to choose? Because they are of age, because a society that would impose such a restriction on its individual could eventually be perceived as totalitarian, as because those restricting such a freedom could eventually lead to restricting other